Okay, so welcome everybody to this month's Backstage Community Meetup. Today we've got a few topics on our agenda. So we're going to hear from Emma and Eric from one of our teams in Spotify who have been working on Backstage Search to give us a little demo and just an update of what's happening in that space. We're going to also hear from Austin, who's going to give us an update on how we're hoping to help companies adopt Backstage and take Backstage forward. We've got pinned down here as well a couple of other things, an open discussion on security that we'll jump to. We've also got a question here around Linkerd. If anyone has any more questions through the session today, please feel free to drop them into chat and we'll cover them off. Or feel free to add them onto the GitHub issue here as well if you are interested. And then to wrap us up today, I've just got some updates around the Swedish summer vacations that are coming up for the team here. So we can run you through what's going to be happening for the maintainers in and through July. But before we get to all of that, again, thank you everybody for joining us. Please do add any questions that you might have into chat or topics you'd like to raise, or feel free to add them to GitHub. And in the meantime, I'm going to hand off to Eric and Emma to talk to us about Backstage Search. So over to you guys.
Yes, hello everyone. Super nice to be here with a lot of people today. My name is Emma and I am a web engineer. I've been at Spotify for 2 years, working in the same team for the entire time. So both working on TechDocs and Backstage Search. Yeah, what about you, Eric?
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks, Emma. I'm Eric Peterson. I'm relatively new to the team. Been with Emma's team, Pulp Fiction, in Spotify for about 9 months, where we have been focusing a lot on search, both internally and externally. And now we're going to kind of walk you through a big milestone that we just reached, which is the alpha release of Backstage Search. So to begin, I just want to refresh everyone on what search kind of currently looks like, or what it looked like about a week ago before we made this release. It looks like this. You got a search bar here. You can search for way back. You can filter by your kind or your life cycle, and you'll see your results in a nice little table to the right. So what does the alpha release of search actually look like? Drum roll, please. We shall reveal that it looks like this. You have a search field where you can search for some stuff and you can filter by component, and you see some details in the results to the right. Wait a minute. That looks awfully familiar. What did we just spend like a quarter and a half working on? Well, let's take a look at the milestones. We had this like pre-alpha milestone where we did some architecture definition, some plugins and some extensibility ideas. And we kind of redid everything in this alpha milestone that we just reached. But I guess the point I'm trying to get across is we didn't just release like a new search experience. We released a platform. It's like the Backstage Search platform, by which I mean it's extensible, it's composable, you can build on top of it. We recognize that search is something quite unique to a particular organization, Spotify included, and we want to give you the flexibility to build on top of that. In particular, that means there's like an extensible backend now. You can index anything into your search in Backstage, starting off with the collator, but theoretically you could do anything on top of it. You can kind of decorate the information in your search index with extra metadata, and heck, you can even bring your own search engine. We have one out of the box provided called Lunr, like in memory, but it would be possible to implement your own search engine. And then on the front end, we have these search primitives, these components, like a search bar, a filter, a result, that you can compose in your app into your own search experience. The one we give you out of the box by default is quite similar to the old one, but if you so chose, you could assemble it in different ways. Not only in your app, but also if you're a plugin developer, you could take advantage of these plugins, these components as well. Result display, also quite flexible. Plugins can export components that you can choose to use to display search results in different ways. And naturally, we will take care of a lot of the nitty-gritty details for you with state management, with a context that we provide. All of that's a little bit abstract, so I want to invite Emma to do a little bit of a demo and make it more concrete for everyone.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, I wanted to be here today to give a little bit of a demo, not on everything. I'm not going to create a new search engine. I'm not going to show you how decorators work, but I'm going to show you a little bit of how we can get content indexed in Backstage, and also a little bit about the composability of the search page. So yeah, so let's first spin up Backstage locally. And while I'm doing that, I just wanted to give you a little bit of background. So I was thinking about, okay, what example should I take to demo this? And as a team who are kind of passionate about unlocking the potential of engineers' collective knowledge by using Backstage, I thought it would be interesting to think about these two different users we have when it comes to this collective knowledge space, which is the producer of content, but also the consumer of content. And I think one thing that is kind of interesting in between these two different people, personas, so to call it, is that as a producer of content, I should maybe have the option to produce and share my knowledge in different ways. So TechDocs could be one example, but maybe there is also a Stack Overflow instance put together internally that one can post questions and answers. But as a consumer of this, I should actually be able to go to Backstage, and if I'm stuck, I should be able to get unstuck and not really know about where this information lives. I'm just interested in to get to where I'm looking to what I'm looking for, right? So I wanted to take the opportunity to show you an example of how to get Stack Overflow in questions indexed into Backstage Search. And for this, I'm not going to use our internal Stack Overflow instance, but I'm going to use the external Stack Overflow API. Yeah, so for this, I just created a new plugin. It's just doing nothing at all more than saying, hello, Stack Overflow plugin. But if we go to the plugin itself, I've prepared it because, you know, live coding is not the most amazing thing to do in a session like this. So I've prepared a bit to make this a little bit more quick. So in my new plugin, I've created a collator. And a collator is something that a collator is responsible for collecting documents to index. And these documents can be whatever you decide to index. So for example, I've created this, I'm actually gonna see if I can just close it. I've created this Stack Overflow collator, and a document collator only needs to have two things. It's a type and execute method. And we can see here that we have the type and we have this execute method, which is only talking to the Stack Overflow API to get the questions, and then returns just a different data structure of the questions here. And the required fields of a document, let's go here, oh, sorry, here, is title, text, and location. But then you can also extend your documents with more fields. So for example, you see here, I've the total number of answers as well as tags. So your collators lives in your plugin, but you do add them in the backend. So if we go to the backend, here we have this search plugin, and you see we already have a collator, the default one, added to the index builder, but we also want to add the new Stack Overflow collator. So we can just copy this, and here's the Stack Overflow collator, and we don't need to pass the discovery, so we can remove that. And this is deciding how often the indices should refresh. So let's take the same 10 minutes here. And that's it. So now if we go to, let's save this first and see if this works. So we can see that we have collated the documents for Stack Overflow. And if we go to the search page and maybe search for how to, we have a lot of Stack Overflow questions here. And maybe there is a use case for the Stack Overflow questions to like show up in a different way than other search results. So maybe we need to create our custom search result list item for our Stack Overflow results. And we can do that. And you see, for example, the fields that I added, such as number of answers and tags, are not displayed here. So that could be a reason to why we want to customize this. And so if we go back here, we can go to the app. And this in components, we have the search page. And this is where you customize and compose how your search page looks like. So now I've also prepared a Stack Overflow search result list item for us. So if we take a look here, we can see that this is just a plain React component, but there is a little bit of difference to other search result list item components. That was a long word. For example, we have two shapes here that show the number of answers to a question and also for each tag. So let's try and use this one instead. Let's go back to the app. Search page, sorry. So here we do have a switch. So you can see already that we have a custom search result list item for the catalog. So we really just want to add one more. And this should be for the Stack Overflow. Let's take a look what the type was again, Stack Overflow. And here we want to return the new component that we just created super fast. So if we go back to our search page, oops, that was a little. And we can now see that we have a different search result list item for our Stack Overflow question, showing the number of answers to a question, the tags, and if we just, for example, remove this, we can see that the other search result list item are the same as before. And one other thing that I wanted to show you in terms of like composability and customize it for your own organization is the filters. So just because we have added 2 filters here doesn't mean that this is relevant for you. So this means also that I can add a new filter. Maybe I want to have a select filter here on the tags. And so now I need to add the actual values here myself. This would be great if this can happen dynamically later on, but for now, I'm just going to add a few languages. And maybe something else as well. Not prepared at all. Nah, I am. And then if we go back here, we can see that we have a new filter and search for example, again, how to, and maybe we want to filter down to JavaScript tags. So now we have the search result only for that and more if we don't. So yeah, that was a little bit of what I wanted to show you today. And feel free to ask any questions in the chat. And also, actually, before I leave, I want to, there's a lot of more concepts as Eric explained, the decorators, which can decorate your search, your documents with more metadata, for example. And we have put together documentation, which you can find on backstage.io under Backstage Search, where you can read more about the different concepts and also how to get started and so on. So check out there if you are interested. Thank you.
That's awesome to see. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Eric, for showing that. That's super cool. We did have a couple of questions that have been coming up through chat. I've seen Eric, you've been in there and answering them, but just in case not everybody's seen them. So we had a question around pagination. come through, and Eric, you kind of called out, yes, the plumbing is all there to be able to do that. And I guess we can dive into Backstage IO to find out more of that. And then there was a question about Stack Overflow public versus enterprise. Absolutely, you can integrate with enterprise. It's just different API endpoints, I presume, that you can jump in on. We've got one more question there that I'm not sure we answered. So this is from Philip. Are we able to create a filter based? You kind of demoed that. Filter based on result type, e.g. Stack Overflow, catalog, etc. So not just the tags within Stack Overflow, but between the others. Is that possible?
Yeah. So in the implementation, we actually sort of differentiate between filters, which are sort of field level things that might be different depending on the type of document, whether it's a Stack Overflow question or a catalog entity. But we also expose in the API this concept of a type, like an index type. So each of those different types of documents would represent a type. And you could imagine showing a filter that would change that rather than a specific filter value. Not yet implemented, and it's not like dynamic. So we're not like pulling a list of those types from the backend, but very easy to imagine that type of faceting for sure.
Nice. We have a question. Apologies, I hope I don't butcher this. Ki Wang, does this also support TechDocs search, especially text search of TechDocs?
Not yet, but we definitely have an issue open for it, and this is something that we wait for, and the community is waiting for, and so we definitely wanted to get. We definitely want to support TechDocs document to be indexed very soon.
Super cool, super cool. And I see Philip there has also asked, is the Stack Overflow collator currently open sourced? As you pointed out, Emma, it's not, but now that you've demoed it, it's out in the world. So I'm sure that'll come along hopefully at some point soon. And I think that is it so far. One just come in from Andrea. Will there be predefined collectors in the core?
Yeah, so currently the catalog backend ships with that default catalog collator, which is responsible for surfacing everything in the software catalog. When TechDocs is implemented, that would be sort of shipped from the TechDocs backend plugin. And you could kind of imagine a large library of these being built up over time as different plugins add support for search.
Okay, and we've got one more question that's coming from Rob. Let's treat this as the last question for now to allow us to move on to the next topic. But if there are more questions, please do add them into chat. We'll either come back to them following the next topic, or I'm sure Eric and Emma will be happy to jump in and respond on chat. So Rob asks, is this search architecture compatible with vanilla MKDocs setup?
I'm not quite sure what vanilla MKDocs setup means in this context, but so we're using the search plugin from MKDocs for all of our TechDocs sites by default. So it means that all sites do get a search index for free from that MKDocs plugin. And so that's going to be used, of course, when you're like, do I need to use Backstage? Oh, yes, you need to use Backstage. But yeah, the MKDocs generated search indices should be used when this TechDocs collator is created. And we're also having another issue with open issue for in context search, meaning that you can create a search within the TechDocs page. And that's the same thing there. You're searching through those generated indices.
Okay, so great stuff. Thank you again, Eric and Emma, for running us through this. Oh, is there one more? Sorry, Emma, go on.
There's just, Eric, did you want to go through what's next as well?
Just two super quick things. We're at the alpha release now. We have like milestones for beta and GA, which basically just mean we want like a production ready search engine to consider this search platform to be in beta. We're proposing Elasticsearch, although we're kind of hoping that we'll get some excitement from the community to help implement it. And then that GA release is sort of realizing some of the exciting things that we've talked about that you could integrate into Backstage to search, like Stack Overflow, like TechDocs. As soon as we have support for those plugins, there's a nice ecosystem of search in Backstage itself, then we will sort of consider ourselves at a GA stage. But that's it. Back to you, Lee.
Cool. That's super exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing that come along. So thank you both again. Please, everyone, if you have any more questions, please do feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll keep an eye on that. And as I say, either we'll come back to them and we can talk to them, or we'll respond right there in chat. So to move on to our next topic, we're going to hear from Austin, who's going to kind of talk to us about how we're hoping to help companies adopt Backstage and get the most out of it. So Austin, over to you.
Awesome, thanks, Lee, and good to see everybody. So one, I don't want to take a ton of time today, but I just wanted to give sort of a preview of a blog post that's going to come out from us pretty soon, and just talk through any questions, anything anyone's interested in particular, since it's kind of something we've been working on for a little while. But basically, it comes down to, like, the community is growing really quickly around Backstage, which of course is exciting and something that you all know. But we're starting to get kind of these different buckets of requests and inputs, and so what we're trying to do is really cater to two different audiences, and that's kind of what we're going to introduce in kind of our vernacular, at least when we're talking about Backstage, and hopefully something that we can help to grow within the community. So we're going to start coming out with more things sort of catered to adopters in particular and contributors as kind of two big audiences that are starting to ask us for slightly different things. And so it's kind of funny when you read the feedback from like one of these community sessions or something, and there's a bunch of people who are like, we don't want to hear anything about what's going on in the core, and we don't want to hear about the new features. We just want to hear about other companies and what they're doing with Backstage. Or there's people that are like, we don't want to hear from other companies. We just want to hear what's going on in the core, and we want to talk to maintainers, and we want to talk through issues. And so what we're going to try and do in the future is support both even more, and really kind of position us for what we think is hopefully the sort of the next wave of growth. Now that we're sort of approaching a year, hopefully soon, almost a year and a half since Backstage is open source. So obviously we're going to keep doing everything that we're doing in terms of dedicated teams. Like, nothing is really changing for us. We're just going to be starting to introduce some more things. So three things in particular. First, we're going to start having like clear consulting support. This is something that people have been asking for, and so we're going to be facilitating connections deeper within our team, but also connections to specific partners that we've been working for, working with. If you're interested in any of that stuff, we actually just published a new landing page at backstage.spotify.com that's going to have a bunch of that content, a bunch of like tips, tricks, things we've done to grow Backstage or to scale Backstage within the company. Also, of course, facilitate connections, as I said, to other partners or to ourselves. So that's a place where people can go if they're looking for sort of specific, like adopter specific support. Second, we're going to, and this will follow, Lee's going to talk about the summertime coming up within Spotify. So this may come a little bit later in the summer, but we're gonna double the community sessions as well. So we're gonna have adopter specific community sessions and contributor specific community sessions. Of course, you're welcome to come to both. But what we're going to try to do is cater to sort of those two audiences in particular, and make sure that people have a forum where they can come and get the content that they're looking for, and ask the questions and work with the audience that they're interested in partnering with. And then lastly, and this one I guess has sort of already happened, but we just added reviewers. I think, if someone's going to totally tell me I'm wrong on this, I think it's 5137 is the PR maybe. You can, if you someone can check and see if I'm right. I'm pretty sure it's 5137, but so reviewers is now out there. If you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. The hope is to basically bring more and more people who've been part of like really big contributors, big reviewers in the project, bring them into kind of a reviewer's path, hopefully also grow maintainers long-term as well. Really, it's the only way to make the project sustainable long-term. And I know that's something that's been asked for a ton from a contributor perspective, and hopefully sets us up all of this really is setting us up for more growth. Oh, nice, you got the PR right. Setting us up for more growth, hopefully, and also more maturity across the spectrum within the CNCF. So obviously we're in sandbox right now, but obviously hoping to push for incubation sometime later this year, and then hopefully graduation if we can get through and work and continue partnering with the CNCF. So just a couple things that are going to be coming out. If you have any questions, happy to talk through them. If you're interested in kind of the new sessions or anything like that, let us know. But all kind of stuff, just a quick heads up, those things are coming, and all of that will be captured in a post more concretely with links and all that fun stuff in the next few days to a week or so. That's it for me. Any questions? Happy to talk through them. Otherwise, keep providing feedback and we will keep doing things. Literally, I think I have the best job in the world, which is trying to grow this community. So please provide the feedback and happy to do whatever we can.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Austin. Again, any questions for Austin while we have him pinned down? And then if not, we'll move on to our next couple of topics. So Rob asks, how fast is it growing, Austin?
So my favorite chart internally, and I've just started dumping it in slides when people ask, is actually just a screenshot of the Grafana dashboard on contributors, which I'm sure it is one of these Grafana tabs I have opened, and I could give you the exact numbers, but I don't know them off the top of my head. At this point, I do know that we have now met with well over 100 companies that are in varying stages of adopting Backstage. So that's something that's definitely exciting for us, and of course exciting for the community. Obviously, more adopters is good for all of us. So from an adopter perspective, hopefully we'll start to see that number in the hundreds within this year. Obviously, we have 30-ish. I don't actually know what it is exactly right now. 30-ish adopters in the adopters file. If you are an adopter and you're not in the adopters file, here's a little nudge to add yourself, because that's the number we look at. So hopefully can see continued growth there. And I think we are just about ticked over 400 unique contributors to the project as well, which is super exciting. And again, you've probably heard me say this if you've heard me blither on before. But contributor does not mean that you have to contribute code. Please contribute ideas, please contribute feedback, input in these sessions, in issues and RFCs, all these sorts of things. So those are the rough numbers, but it's about 10 new contributors a week at this point, which is of course exciting, and hopefully that'll continue to grow. And then adopters, slightly harder to pin down, just because there's not as clear data there.
Super cool. Thanks, Austin. Again, everybody, please feel free to add questions into the chat, and we can come around to them as we go through the rest of the session today. So to move on to the next topic, Himanshu, I'm going to let you introduce this one. You added the topic to GitHub around a discussion on security. So I wondered if you would give us just a little context and then over to the maintainers.
Yeah, the context, so it's just around some talks in Discord around TechDocs, something in TechDocs, and like they wanting to report it to us. So I just thought, let's just talk about like what's the procedure for that. So yeah, like Backstage is part of Spotify's bug bounty program, but also wanted to like get inputs from the community, like what are some like advices or suggestions that you may have, like are there any bots which could help us like review PRs faster and with more confidence in terms of security, for example? And yeah, any suggestions would be just wanted an open floor, nothing in particular. So yeah, if there's nothing, like you can even drop in links to some other practices that you think we should be looking at more closely.
So I think it was Rody who started that Discord conversation that we were talking about. What we were trying to do there was understand if what we were seeing was a security concern or not. which was kind of a precursor to going through the official channels, the way we were seeing it. We kind of thought that submitting something to the Spotify bug bounty might be a bit alarming, might get triaged as a Spotify security concern. And so we didn't want to go down that route first. So that was just kind of our thought process. I don't know if that helps or not.
So the bug bounty goes more or less straight to us. I think often a private message on Discord is a pretty good way to check if something is a security issue or not. I can say that we've around some of those things we're experimenting with using GitHub's own security advisories for kind of both rolling out patches and also notifying of security issues. So there will be some updates, assuming we're happy with that flow to the security.md file in the root of the repo. We also expect to add some more guidelines around which parts of the architecture we consider to be security sensitive, and also where we, basically more information about architecture to help guide bug hunters really to the right places. So those are some updates that are going to be coming up.
Okay. Any other thoughts, tips, or questions or anything on security before we move on? A security hackathon. And anything with hackathon in the name, it sounds good to me, Himanshu. Okay. Again, please feel free add comments, ideas, thoughts, etc. through chat as we go on. I have to apologize before we jump into this next section because I really do not have this whole segue thing down into different topics. So I apologize, Sammy. I'm just gonna rip the band-aid off. So we had a question on our GitHub. So Sammy asked, our team would like to ask if there's any progress on a plugin with Linkerd. I read here with a link to an issue 633 that Ben is working on it still. So Ben, hi mate.
Yeah, thanks for this. Yeah,
you're welcome.
Hi. So I did actually reply to the message in the attached issue. Yeah, it's kind of been a little hack project of mine. So I was a contributor on Linkerd and used Linkerd quite a lot before joining Spotify. So I decided to try and combine the two things I was working on, Linkerd and Backstage. A short update is I got kind of a little bit sidetracked with like actual work and stuff because it's kind of just a hack project. So I've not really had much time to spend on it, but there's a little bit more updates in the thread. But yeah, it's kind of a short update. Is it's still ongoing, I guess. Yeah, back to you, Nelly.
Nice. Thanks, Ben. Thank you. Okay, so that actually brings us to the end of the topics that I can see in our GitHub issue. So it's likely we're going to be wrapping up early today. Before I just get into a brief update on on behalf of the maintainers for over the summer, I just wanted to check if there were any topics or anything that anyone here in the community wanted to raise while we've got everybody here.
I have one other thing I could probably bring up, which is the date for your diaries, basically. So recently we deprecated the first or the V1 Alpha 1 version of the templates. We are planning on removing support for that in any version, or rather on the July the 1st, sorry, which is in 2 weeks. We're planning on removing support for V1 Alpha 1. There's a migration guide, which I'll also link to in the GitHub issue or the community meeting issue of how to migrate your templates to the beta syntax. I guess the motivation behind this is that we're planning on what we want to do for GA release of the scaffolder, which might involve some more changes. So we don't really want to have to support 3 different things at the same time. So it's easier for us. But yeah, if you have any problems migrating, reach out to me in Discord and we can help too.
Great stuff. Thanks, Ben. I can see as well, there's, thanks, David, for jumping in. I see you've helped out providing some links there as well. But a question I just wanted to ask out loud, particularly, I think, for you, Austin, it may relate. So this is coming from Luyabi. Apologies if I got that wrong. Would be very interested in any resources that can help with regards to communicating Backstage to execs, etc., and are putting together Backstage business cases. Austin, I just wondered if you had any tips off the top of your head, or the best place to go and look for some of that stuff as well.
Yeah, super appreciate that ask. And if there's like, if there, maybe we should even have an issue around it. Like I'd be happy to partner on putting together specific content for that. We obviously have tons of it because we've done this a bunch of times, and helped specific companies make the business case, or helped, or even gone and sort of helped them pitch it to their executive. So off the top of my head, I would say that the generic advice would be understand what they care about and communicate why Backstage is helpful in the terms that they care about it. So that's the sort of high level response, I would say. But I'm happy to help provide or help build out like sort of an open pitch deck almost that people can use and contribute a bunch of the content that we've made just around like the problems Backstage help solves, the rate of growth, and sort of the health and opportunity that exists in being part of the community, and then of course the problems that it can hopefully help solve, or the solutions that it can help realize for a particular organization. So happy to partner on that. Feel free, like if somebody wants to create an issue around it or something, then let me know, and happy to help work on it.
Cool, thanks, Austin. Okay, we've got a few more, and we've got a few more questions coming in that I'm going to point towards the maintainers, I think. So the first one here from Ernest is around the RBAC agenda. Any further discussion and design? Before I pass it off to the maintainers, I can say I know that RBAC is a topic that's been around a little longer than I had hoped. I'd have hoped we could have got to it sooner, but it is on our priority list right now. So internally, the maintainers, the teams are going through all of that right now. I can't give any specific dates, but know that we're kind of talking about it internally and trying to work out how we can push that forward soon. And then with regards to any further discussion or design around it, I'm just going to pass that over to the maintainers. I can't recall the last time we talked about it in a community session, or if we have, but I wondered if you could just give a touch on the latest thinking on that front.
I think we might have mentioned it last time. We're chipping away. The main focus of the maintainer team has been the catalog lately, with some surrounding bits. The kind of big dependency to get RBAC into the solution or any kind of access control is to actually have some form of identity in the catalog for the user. So that's something that's moved a little bit lately, where we're actually getting closer to properly be able to tie a signed-in user to some form of identity in the catalog. PR number 4532, if that is of interest, is about to be shipped. So we're chipping away at it, but yeah, it's taking time.
Cool. And then we have another question from Julio, Moonshot, question mark. Are there any plans to support MySQL as the DBMS for Backstage besides SQLite and Postgres? And I can see Tim has put a link to an issue 5656. MySQL is tested as well. Any other comments from any of the engineers there? I'll take that as sold.
We haven't had the discussion, but we're definitely headed in that direction. As mentioned, it's now being tested in end-to-end tests.
Okay. So just to make sure I've covered all of my bases as well. We said I was going to mention something about the summer, and I'll keep an eye on as questions come in before we wrap up. So I just wanted to mention a little bit about the upcoming July-August timeframe. It is coming up to summer vacation time for the core team here, and particularly being Sweden-based, Sweden takes vacations very, very seriously. So we're going to be out for a little bit over the summer. You will see a slight slowdown in the repo for the summer vacations, roughly between July 6th and August 8th. During that time, we're going to be pretty much purely focused on PRs relating to plugins, and then PRs relating to the core We'll slow down and we'll pick them back up again in August. That's just to allow a bit of a breather for the maintainers to take some of their vacations and whatnot. You'll still find us in Discord, but not everyone is going to be there all at the same time. And yes, we're still going to hold our community session for next month in July. So look out for that agenda issue and add topics you'd like to include there. The other thing to raise, I want to embarrass and quickly introduce Francesco as well. So Francesco has recently joined the Backstage team here at Spotify as our new product manager. You're going to be hearing from him and seeing more of him in Discord and around as he kind of ramps up with the team. But I just wanted to introduce and say, hey, Francesco, I can see you in the chat there. If you want to give everyone a little wave.
Thank you very much, Lee. You know I like to be embarrassed, so that's fine.
That's good. That's good. We're going to get along great then. Okay. So I think just checking. I can't see any more questions. Yes, we should all take some vacation. Absolutely agree, Austin. Okay, so I think that brings us to the end of this community session today. Then we're going to wrap up a little bit early. Thank you everybody for joining and taking part. Again, thank you for your continued support and input and helping to make Backstage and the community here what it is. Really looking forward to see what comes up next. Sounds like some exciting things on search, and there's definitely some exciting things coming from the community too. So look forward to seeing you. God, have a good summer vacation if you're taking it, and we'll see you again next month at the next community meetup. Thank you all.